The last thing I expected when I woke up this morning was to see the entire 2024 Cars Diecast checklist poster get revealed. Usually we don't get these until the summer, so I was very surprised to see this in the first week of February, or I guess the second week of February, if you want to get all technical on me. I was certainly not expecting to see this, and it's pretty interesting. 2024, now that we know everything coming out in it, is a pretty interesting year. Getting this poster is honestly a little disappointing to me. It's been really fun speculating what's coming out this year, and the poster always kind of spoils the hype because now we know everything that's happening, right? Usually we get them over the summer. There have been times where we've gotten them much, much earlier. I guess 2024 is one of those years. But yeah, it's a little disappointing because now we know every single thing that's coming out, and it's just a matter of learning what's going to be out in what wave, right? I much prefer when we get them over the summer because the Cars Diecast line always releases its last wave in September every year, so we just see who the last few left are. But this time around, we have everything here. And honestly, it kind of has a similar effect because this year, we've been very consistently getting images of new cars in the package very, very often. Some of which aren't going to be out for quite a while, you know? A lot of this year's releases that have been getting announced, they've been getting announced kind of in bulk, and then dispersed across the next, 3 or 4 cases. At this point, we know everything for the next several months of the Cars Diecast line. So, it's a year where we've gotten a lot of reveals pretty early on that are all being spread out across the year. So now we get to see what the rest of the year holds. And at first, I don't know. This is a year I'm pretty mixed on, which is disappointing to me. Because I've said on several occasions that this looks like the year with the most potential in a long time. And it does a lot right. But it also does a lot wrong. I'd put it on par with 2023, probably. Just like with 2023, every new release is amazing. In fact, I'd say the 2024 new releases are, in my opinion, better than the 2023 ones, which is saying something, because if you know me, you know I loved all the new releases we got in 2023, for the most part. But other than that, I feel like this year has very little of value. 2023 was a solid year because it mixed really good new releases with really good re-releases. And as I go through this list, you'll quickly see that there are really no good re-releases this year, which is something that's quite disappointing to me. But anyway, I'll continue to go through my thoughts throughout this video. Anyway guys, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be going over my thoughts on the full 2024 Cars Diecast mainline. At first, since it was so early in the year, I was a little confused because there have been times in the past where they've just given us a spring checklist. I thought maybe that was it. According to Mattel's website, according to the name of this PDF file, it is called Full Year 2024 Checklist. So this is the full year. Anyway, we start off with stuff from the first movie. You got McQueen and Mater, just like you'd expect. Rusty Cornfuel, Chick Hicks, Sally, Sheriff, Todd Marcus, Kevin Shiftwright. Once again, they throw Artist Ramon in as a release from the first movie. This happened back in 2022. Have they learned nothing? I'm pretty sure his diecast itself says he's in Cars 2, which is accurate. But they keep putting him on the wrong poster, which is a shame because you'll soon see that Cars 2 was wildly underrepresented this year. So, it would have been nice to have Ramon in the right place. We've got the King, Luigi and Guido, and then Mandy Freudenbender. Freuderbender. This is the Taco Mint crew chief. An item that was canceled all the way back in 2019, which some leaks had suggested would be coming back this year, or not coming back, being uncanceled this year, and, well, those leaks were correct. So here is Mandy. She looks pretty good, and honestly, I much prefer this to the original design. The original design was white with, this gumdrop pattern, much like Brian Emagear, and I was never really a big fan of that. I always felt like, for a car as unique as Greg Candyman, just choosing white as the primary color for the pit crew was a little lazy, and using the same pattern on the crew chief and the pitties, I wasn't all that interested in. But Mandy here, she looks really good, and they've fully changed her design for her official release. You never really see that with canceled cars, but I guess since Mandy didn't appear in the movie, and is a crew chief created for the Cars Diecast line, I guess I decided to update her before release, and yeah, she doesn't match Brian Immigear anymore, but I certainly don't mind. I really like this change. What I don't like is the fact that, once again, this is one and only one new release from the first Cars movie. Much like last year, where we got Breaker Boggs, it's a really good release. But 2 years after Cars on the Road came out, we should not only be getting one release from the first movie. The line is still way too on the road heavy. Anyway, we have Radiator Springs McQueen, Corey Turbowitz, Kevin Racing Tire, oh great, both Kevins in the same year, James Clean Air, Paunchy Wipeout, Kathy Copter, Fillmore, Hall Ingas, Mater with Sign. I'm very disappointed to see no other McQueen's pit crew cars out this year. We could have gotten Pit Crew Fillmore or Pit Crew Sarge, who we haven't seen in a long time, or the Hudson Hornet with headset. I was really hoping that Mater with Sign meant we would get more McQueen's pit crew, and I'm very surprised to see that we aren't. Mater with Sign is one of the best re-releases this year, but he's also one of the only good re-releases this year, in my opinion. But yeah, a little disappointed to see them not do more with McQueen's pit crew. Maybe next year? I don't know. But Mater with Sign is a nice one to see back. Manny Flywheel, Cactus McQueen, Brush Kerber, who's using a new piece of artwork here. Looks a little strange. Ruby Easy Oaks, Tumbleweed McQueen, Aiken Axler, and then DJ Snotrod, Boost, and Wingo. These are the flame variants. Easily, in my opinion, alongside Mater with Sign, these are the best re-releases of the year here. Yeah, I don't know. I think this year's a little too Piston Cup racer heavy, and it is a little awkward that our one new release from the movies is a crew chief, and that's the only crew chief out this year. And also, Greg Candyman, her racer, right, isn't even out for 2024, although he did come out at the end of 2023, so I don't really mind. And then we move on to Cars 2. There are only 6 releases total from Cars 2. This is by far the worst year ever for Cars 2. We've just got Otis, Holly, McQueen, Finn, and Union Jack Ramone. With paint gun, presumably. Because that's the only one they do nowadays for some reason. I'm thoroughly disappointed. Last year brought the lemons back. This year, a lot of us were hoping they would expand on that. They didn't. No lemon re-releases, no Grem or Acer. Again, like I said, for re-releases this year, really nothing of value. Last year brought so many great re-releases to the line. This year, nothing. Other than the tuners with Flames and Mater with Sign. I'm thoroughly disappointed. Every Cars 2 release here, it's really nothing too interesting. You'll notice there's also not a single World Grand Prix racer out this year. And I could go on and on and on and complain about Cars 2 being underrepresented, but I don't think I can truly say that in a year that's bringing us the GRC line, which is part of the main line and is a line exclusively focused on new variants of World Grand Prix racers. I think the reason why we didn't get any World Grand Prix racers in this line from Cars 2 is because we have the GRC line, which you'll see is at the bottom of the checklist and has like 10 releases in it, 8 of which are World Grand Prix racers. So with so many new World Grand Prix variants, I guess it makes sense to release not as many cars from Cars 2, I think you'll look here and you see, oh great, barely anything from Cars 2, without remembering the fact that more than a tenth of this year's main line for singles is dedicated to a new line of World Grand Prix racers, which aren't from Cars 2, but hey, the characters are, right? They're Cars 2 character variants. I will say, though, that there being 10 GRC cars does kind of make me wish, sorry, that it was a non-mainline series so that we could have 10 slots back in the normal mainline. But regardless, there are 90 singles this year, and I think that's a little more than we usually get, so I can't really complain. What I can complain about, though, is the Cars 3 assortment, which is once again very, very generic. One of the most requested things I see right now in the Cars community are people just begging for the Cars 3 veteran racers to come back. That didn't happen. One of my biggest complaints for years has been that there are way too many next gens out. I guess this year remedies that. Literally the only one is Eric Breaker, and then Jackson, of course. And then we have a few out in 2-packs. We got Fabulous McQueen, the Viewzine tractor, another weird random release. You guys know I'm not the biggest fan of the racing tractors, but it's weird to just do one, right? Rusty's Cruise, Bill, Dirt Track Doc back again. Airborne, Fair Game, Rusty's Lightning McQueen. I think it's been a few years since we've seen him. Wheeldell Lee and Heyday Smokey, easily the best Cars 3 re-releases here, in my opinion. Although, again, with Wheeldell, I wish we'd gotten a few, I wish we'd gotten some new releases related to the 50s. Not like 50s racers, but cars like Wheeldell would have been really nice. He's always stood out to me as a kind of awkward new release from Cars 3 that really deserves some companions. While we're on the subject of Doc, of course, we don't have a regular Doc out this year, or a Lizzie. Lizzie and Doc typically come out every other year, but I also want to mention the fact that Sarge is absent from the main line this year for some reason. I'm sure he'll be out in multi-packs, but despite the fact that Sarge is not in this year's main line, at the bottom of the poster, it still copyrights the U.S. military, the U.S. Army, so I think that's really weird. They've had a bad tendency in the past to forget cars on the posters. Last year had one. Past years have forgotten cars. Maybe they forgot Sarge and still included the copyright. I don't know. I just think it's a little strange. Anyway, we then get into Cars on the Road, which, as you can see, once again takes up a bulk of this year's releases and has almost all of its new releases. As I've been saying for the past several months, every on the road release we're getting has been incredibly solid. I just wish we were getting more than just on the road releases. We have Cave Mater, who's new, Quadratorchosaur, who's new. Oh my gosh, I just realized. Wait, they organized these guys in order of the episode. That's really nice. Thanks, Mattel. There was some level of organization this year. I really, really appreciate that. I think that's consistent all throughout, right? So from Dino Park, we have Cave Mater, the Quadratorchosaur, and Pitstoposaurus. I'm very disappointed to not see the Westphalanthropus come back. It's a very cool release that's been very hard to find here in the U.S. Well, it's great to get the Quadratorchosaur back. I was really hoping to see the Westphalanthropus come back so that all of us who missed it the first time could get it. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. Also surprised to see Cave McQueen not getting a single release, but he is in a 2-pack this year. We then get Randy, Mallory Carhut, and then probably one of my favorite new releases this year. This is Logan Gearsall. This is a Ghost Model T. Something I've been asking for since the show first came out. I think that is so cool. Of course, the only Model T we've ever had in the Cars Diecast line is Lizzie, and On the Road used several as background characters. There were some in B-Movie, but most prominently, they were here in the hotel in Lights Out. So this was honestly one of the cars I was most hoping for this year, and I'm very, very, very excited to see that that's happening. I assume it'll reuse Lizzie's mold. The proportions look a little wacky on it. It may be its own mold. I'm not entirely sure, but regardless, this is one of my favorite things from this year. Tractor Ghost is another one of my favorites. I've already talked about that before, so I won't get into it here. Love that they're doing that, and great to see, more ghosts joining Mallory. I'm very happy to see also that we only have one Salt Flats racer out this year in the form of Gearston Marshall, and then we have a new one, Byron Crashforth. I don't really think it was necessary to get another Salt Flats racer, but I don't mind the fact that we're getting a new one. I certainly don't. And I also really like the fact that they slowed down with Salt Flats Racers, because they made so many in the past few years. I was really worried that this year they'd just be re-releasing every single one of them again. They're not. They've regulated most of them to a 5-pack, which I think is nice. You don't crowd the main line with these Salt Flats cars you keep doing. You throw them all in a 5-pack. Other than Gearston, who is like Mattel's golden girl right now. They keep releasing her for some reason, and I don't know why. Unfortunately, another release from Salt Fever is accidentally in the truck section. And I get it, he is in fact a truck, and these are the same guys that claimed a Cars 2 Ramon was from the first movie. But I will take this time to talk about Barney Cones, another one of my personal favorite releases from this year. Another one that I've been really, really hoping for. This is the pickup truck that pushes cars out onto the salt flats in the episode. He's the one that says, "Watch out for Speed Demon." He's got his little metal bumper piece on the front. He looks like a modified version of Broadside from Cars 3. I know it's weird for me to say this, but this is genuinely one of my most wanted cars for this year. He was on my list for my most wanted cars from Salt Fever. I'm very, very, very happy to see him. He's one of those releases that I did not expect to see, but I'm very, very happy. One of my personal favorites from this year. Space Creature McQueen, another great one. Cryptid Buster Mater. Finally, we got Margaret Motoray, one that I know a lot of people have been asking for. Finally, Griswold will no longer be a load. Now all we have to do is wait for the final Cryptid Buster. I think there's some really smart planning this year in terms of what they chose to release and what they didn't release. For example, you may ask, hey, where's Cryptid Buster McQueen? Well, we don't need him because this year we have Space Creature McQueen, and underneath that is Cryptid Buster McQueen without gear. You know, they didn't re-release Cave McQueen as a single because he's out in a 2-pack. I am really happy with the exclusions for Cars on the Road. I think they made some really smart choices for what to exclude and what not to release again. There was some very well done planning this year. Rodette, new clown car with Van Campbell. This is one of my favorite clown car models in the show. Very happy. I know clown cars aren't all that exciting, and I would much prefer one with more screen time, like Where's the Janitor, Pity Guys. But this is a pretty fun one. This is one I'm very happy to get. Todd here is in the truck section. Todd is one of those cases where it's super cool to see a car come back, and then I feel like they kill the hype by releasing it again immediately the following year. But it is good in case you missed out on him. Also, I believe he's already been out. I think he was in the first case of 2024, wasn't he? Anyway, he's not a Cars on the Road release this year. I like that they grouped him here, but on the packaging he is labeled as seen as in Cars. Adam Rodriguez and Chris Freightman. Chris Freightman, one of my personal favorites this year, if not my favorite this year. Already talked about that in a past video when he was announced. Tony Motorfelt, much like Barney Cones, is stuck in the truck section. When he was not in that episode, he was in B-Movie. Poor guy. Jessica Carville, Lightning McQueen Deputy Hazard, a little disappointed that he didn't get a longer name here, that they didn't label him Lightning McQueen Deputy Hazard with slime, but whatever. President Mater, Jason Roadkey. Justin Roadritter here is also out in that 2-pack with Ken and Janoki, which I think is a much better deal. Classic case of incredible 2-pack and then car also out as a single. Those two were literally made for each other because he's the one that fires at Ken. But what I'm noticing just now, oh, never mind. Here on his prototype image, he has his little rocket, which is strange because on the diecast he doesn't. You can see the same is true here. Why is this all highlighted in blue? That's not supposed to happen. Oops. I accidentally highlighted the text. Uh-oh. Yeah, he's not going to have the rocket on him on the final product we've seen. The rocket is no longer present because he shot it at Ken. I had a feeling they'd re-release Justin Roadritter as a single. Not necessarily this year, but they did. Since he was really... I mean, he could work on his own. Well, Ken can't because Ken has a little missile on him. I would have much preferred an electric car without a missile on them released this year. Very disappointing to finally get one of the electric cars again. Probably my most wanted release from the entire show, honestly. And then we only get one that permanently has a missile stuck to him. I was really hoping that getting Ken with a silly little missile on him meant we'd be getting a regular electric car this year. That's not the case. Got Road Trip McQueen, Mato, Mateo, and our old pal Rusty's Dynaco Cruise. Then for the Cars Tune line, we have Manji, Yokoza, and Komodo. We already knew about that. I know a lot of people were hoping we'd get more than just these three. I always had a feeling it would be just them, unfortunately. And then we get to the GRC. Easily the highlight of the year, other than the new releases from On the Road. We get a full look at all the guys coming out. McQueen, Francesco, Carla, Miguel, Raul, Shu, Jackson, Storm, and Cruz, and Max Schnell. I really like the inclusion of Jackson and Cruz, honestly. I think it's cool to get them involved and have this be a race that takes place after Cars 3. I know some people are going to complain about that, but this is a choice I genuinely really like. I think this is very fun. Hopefully, in 2025, we could see the rest of the racers. We're missing Jeff, Lewis, Rip, Nigel, unfortunately. You guys know I love Nigel Gearsley. Yeah, like I said, it's hard to complain about lack of Cars 2 releases when we have 8 new World Grand Prix racer variants this year. I am a little disappointed. Shu and Miguel are both also in 2-packs. I wish they had instead swapped them out with some of the racers we were missing. I really like all these designs. I don't think there's a weak link in here. Maybe Miguel is a bit weaker, but look, Miguel has the black spoiler. That's cool. That's movie accurate. Even Jackson looks good. I've said a ton of times, I always struggle with giving Jackson unique expanded universe designs. This is one of my favorite Jacksons ever. I have no complaints about this line. Max Schnell is probably my least favorite, but I don't care. These all look incredibly good. We then move into 2-packs, which I'm not really going to go over. We've seen all these, except Double Clutch Daily and Jet Robinson. What is their obsession with Jet Robinson, man? And then, yeah, see, we got Jackson and Miguel, and then the only new 2-pack with new releases to be revealed here. This is my favorite item of the year. Nicole Revwell, movie prop, and Jesse Whelan. These two little mover pitties and the movie prop. The movie prop being the UFO from Unidentified Flying Mater. They knew what they were doing when they released this, okay? This is another one of those releases that I genuinely really wanted, but never thought we'd ever get. In B-Movie, there's a little Easter egg where a UFO that looks like a Mama UFO from UFM is being moved by these two pitties, and the fact that we're getting a pack based on it is absolutely incredible. This is my favorite thing out this year. Two new blank pitties, you can use them for any purpose, and a UFO. And there you have it, guys. I don't know why this text is still highlighted. 2024 is, in my opinion, a pretty mixed year. Like I said at the top of the video, the new releases are incredibly solid. They're doing a lot of things right, but in my opinion, they're also doing a lot of things wrong. It's really time to move on from the Cars on the Road stuff. We need more releases from the movies. You know, we need better re-releases, in my opinion. There are some good ones in there, but really, we definitely need to see some more in there. Again, every new release, I love. The only new release I don't really like is the new Salt Flats Racer, but this year is an insanely solid year for new releases. For me, half of what makes cars collecting fun is those re-releases. And to not really get any that are all that worth it, in my opinion, other than the Tuners with Flames, Mater with Sign, maybe throw Wheel Dell in there, definitely makes it a bit of an underwhelming year for me. I had a lot of hopes for this year, and I can proudly say that it's a pretty solid one. On par with 2023. I think I like the new releases this year better than the ones last year. There's a lot I'm really excited for. There's not a single item here that I'm not excited to get. But there are just some things I wish they were doing a little better or a little differently. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you think about this year's checklist in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.